Hi and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be sharing with you some coping methods that I've been using over the years that have helped me to deal with my anxiety in daily life. The first one is breathing. You might be wondering, what is so special about breathing, as we do this all the time, and so how can this help with anxiety? Well, if done intentionally, this can be a very handy coping method that can reduce the buildup of stress while helping one to get a handle on the situation. Simply put, breathing is a great way of getting oxygen into the blood, which then circulates to the brain and in turn sends signals to your parasympathetic nervous system, inducing a sense of calm. Breathing is also a great way to focus on something other than anxiety and gives a sense of control, as during a panic attack, one of the things that tends to happen is one may feel disoriented, confused, and not in control of the situation. In my case, for example, whenever I'm anxious, I begin to shallow breathe, which results in less oxygen going to my brain, which then amplifies the feeling of disorientation and fatigue that I experience. Now that I've gone through the basics, let's look at the actual technique. This is called square breathing, and it is done in 4 stages, which are breathing in, holding one's breath, breathing out, holding one's breath, and then repeating the steps from the beginning. During a buildup of stress, for example, whenever I'm beginning to shallow breathe, I usually start off by intentionally breathing in for 2 seconds, holding my breath for 2 seconds, breathing out for 2 seconds, holding my breath for 2 seconds, and then repeating from the start. The timing that I've given is only an example. When you practice square breathing, you will naturally find your own rhythm according to the situation, and this technique can be done as many times as necessary to feel calmer and more at ease while in a stressful situation. The second technique that I use is to sit quietly or to meditate. If one is able to take some time out before or during the build-up of a stressful situation, it's a great way to slow things down. Whenever I find myself being in such a situation, I tend to go for a walk and look for a quiet place where I can spend some time on my own. While in this space, I allow myself to experience my anxiety while being fully aware of the thoughts and sensations that arise in my mind until I feel ready to rejoin the event. The good thing about doing this is that it seems to work in public spaces as well. There's always an unoccupied bench in a mall, for example, where I'm able to sit undisturbed. Taking time out, however, is not always possible, and in the midst of a social situation, if I'm not able to look for a quiet place, I deliberately direct my attention to what others are saying in conversations or focus wholly on what my body is doing at the time. This really helps to take pressure off as I remove the expectation of having to be social, which then allows me the time and space to deal with my stress internally without anybody knowing. I also find that having a point of focus and keeping full attention on whatever I may be doing in that moment is a great way of dealing with a stressful situation. Eventually, when I begin to feel calmer and more at ease, it becomes easier to open up and begin communicating with others around me. The third technique is exercise. This is a powerful way to turn anxiety into a productive source of motivation, and it works every time. The only limitation being that it may not always be possible to do this, as running around during a family dinner or a meeting may not be an option. However, if one has a bit of time and space to go for a quick run or to do some body weight exercises before or after the event, it's a great way to channel that stress into a healthy workout. Exercise is also great because it takes one's mind off feeling anxious and stimulates the release of endorphins, which brings about a feeling of satisfaction. Exercising regularly will also improve one's overall health and is a great way to establish a positive pattern of behavior. The next coping method I use is sleep. There are times when nothing else seems to work and my anxiety and stress don't seem to go away, in which case I find that sleeping is a great way to reboot and start over. I find that being anxious for long periods of time is mentally and physically tiring, which makes it easier for me to get a bit of sleep. Whenever this happens, I usually let my body decide how long to sleep for, and after waking up, I tend to find myself feeling refreshed, and more often than not, my anxiety has gone away entirely, which gives me a fresh start. The final coping method that I will share with you today is something that may not have an immediate effect, but that will help in the long run, and that is acceptance. Let me explain. The 4 coping methods that I've shared so far, I've been using for many years to manage my anxiety in daily life. Acceptance, on the other hand, has been like a strong foundation that has changed my attitude and that has helped to motivate me not to give up and to keep improving over the years. Over time, I found that by letting go of expectations and by accepting anxiety, allowing myself to experience whatever the moment might bring, has reduced my levels of stress and has greatly improved my attitude towards life. Not only, but it has also taught me to take the good and the bad with a pinch of salt. As one quote goes, "Understanding is the first step to acceptance, and only with acceptance can there be recovery." This brings me to the end of this video. Next time, I look forward to sharing with you about types of medication that I've taken over the years, and will be mentioning which of those have helped me with my anxiety. Until then, thank you for watching, please take care, and see you next time.